Ladies and gentlemen, look around. Hear that silence. That's the sound before the laugh. The world loves a surprise, and today, you're it. They don't see it yet, and that's the fun part. While they're busy judging the stage, you're backstage becoming inevitable. Chaos. Doubt. Good, that's fuel. Because whether they clap or gasp, one thing's certain. The whole world is about to watch you rise. And trust me, icons are never born quietly. They're watching you, even when they pretend they're not. Even when they scroll past your name, even when they laugh it off, even when they say, "Who's that?" with that little smirk. Oh, they're watching. People always watch what they don't understand yet. That's how curiosity disguises itself as indifference. You think the spotlight turns on when you step on stage. No, no. The spotlight has been on long before that, flickering, unstable, waiting. Every move you make in the dark is being noticed by someone you'll never meet, someone who will swear later that they knew it all along. See, the world is a strange audience. It claps late, boos early, and judges without context. They don't want to see the rehearsals, the cracked mirrors, the sleepless nights where ambition laughs at you louder than any crowd ever could. They only want the reveal. But make no mistake, the watching starts now. When you choose discipline over comfort. When you walk away from distractions like they're bad jokes. When you keep going even though nobody's buying tickets yet. Being watched isn't about fame, it's about pressure. And pressure is honest. Pressure doesn't flatter you. It doesn't lie to protect your feelings. It asks one simple question every single day. Are you real or are you pretending? Because the moment eyes are on you, excuses lose their punchline. You can't hide behind potential anymore. Potential is cute when no one's looking. But under observation, potential gets exposed. And here's the funny part. They're not watching to cheer. Not at first. They're watching to see if you'll crack. They want the slip, the stumble, the moment you prove them right. Because people feel safer when your dreams stay theoretical. Your rise makes them uncomfortable. It reminds them of the chances they didn't take, the masks they never removed. So yes, they watch closely, hoping the story ends early. But that's where you smile. That crooked, quiet smile. Because while they're counting your mistakes, you're counting your reps. While they're whispering opinions, you're stacking proof. Attention, even silent attention, sharpens you. It forces precision. It teaches you how to stand straight when everything in you wants to fold. Being watched turns ordinary effort into performance, and performance into inevitability. You don't need them to understand you. You need them to see you persist, day after day. Same hunger, same fire, same refusal to disappear. Consistency under observation is terrifying. It messes with people's narratives. They can explain failure. They can explain luck. What they can't explain is someone who keeps showing up without permission. So let them watch. Let them zoom in on your flaws, your pauses, your rough edges. Let them misunderstand your silence and underestimate your patience. Eyes create pressure. Pressure creates diamonds. And diamonds don't ask the crowd if they shine enough. You're not on trial. You're in transformation. Every look aimed at you is sharpening the contrast between who you were and who you're becoming. And somewhere in that uncomfortable attention, that unblinking stare of the world, something dangerous is forming. Focus, identity, momentum. Because when you realize you're being watched, you stop performing for approval and start performing for impact. And that's when the joke stops being funny and starts being unforgettable. Pressure doesn't knock politely. It kicks the door in, drags a chair into the room, and sits way too close. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It assumes you're not. And that's the point. Everyone says they want greatness. But the moment pressure shows up, they start negotiating. Maybe later, maybe smaller, maybe safer. Pressure hears all that and laughs. A sharp, ugly laugh. Because pressure isn't here to comfort you. It's here to test if you meant what you said when no one was listening. See, comfort is a terrible teacher. Comfort lets you lie to yourself and still sleep at night. Pressure. Pressure keeps the lights on. Pressure strips away the inspirational quotes and replaces them with reality, deadlines, expectations, eyes, consequences. Suddenly talent isn't enough. Motivation isn't enough. Even confidence starts sweating. Under pressure, everything fake cracks first. That's why most people run from it. They don't fear failure. They fear exposure. But pressure isn't punishment. It's preparation wearing a scary face. It's the weight that strengthens you or crushes, depending on whether you stand straight or fold. You don't rise despite pressure. You rise because of it. Pressure forces decisions, sharpens instincts, turns hesitation into action. When time is short and stakes are high, you find out who's really in control, you or your excuses. Funny thing is, pressure always shows up right before something big. Right before a breakthrough. Right before a shift. It's like the universe's sense of humor. You say you're ready to level up, and pressure says, great. Prove it. Long nights, tight margins. Moments where quitting sounds logical and staying feels insane. Pressure doesn't scream encouragement. It whispers doubt and waits to see if you'll listen. Most people crack because they personalize it. They think pressure means they're failing. Wrong. Pressure means you've been chosen for a harder version of the game. No pressure means no expectations. No expectations means no future worth remembering. Pressure is the signal that you're no longer invisible, that something you're doing matters enough to be tested. And here's the twisted beauty of it. Pressure organizes chaos. When everything is easy, priorities blur. When pressure hits, clarity appears. You stop wasting energy on nonsense. You learn what deserves your focus and what deserves to be cut loose. Pressure doesn't allow luxury thinking. It demands efficiency. It teaches you how to move when conditions aren't perfect, when confidence is shaky, when applause is missing. Under pressure, habits speak louder than intentions. Discipline becomes your only alibi. You don't get to rely on mood anymore. You rely on systems, reps, structure, repetition so deep it becomes instinct. That's how preparation hides inside pressure. Every uncomfortable moment is rehearsal. Every heavy expectation is strength training. You're being conditioned, whether you like it or not. People love to celebrate the moment someone handles pressure, but they ignore the process that built that tolerance. Pressure tolerance isn't talent. It's exposure. It's staying instead of escaping. It's breathing when everything tells you to panic. Over time, what once felt unbearable becomes familiar. The noise fades. The weight stabilizes. You stop reacting and start controlling. Pressure also reveals who's around you for the show and who's built for the storm. Some vanish when things get tense. Some suddenly have opinions. Some cheer from a safe distance. Pressure clears the room without asking permission. And in that stripped-down space, you meet yourself. Without filters, without distractions, without applause. So when pressure tightens its grip, don't ask how to escape it. Ask what it's trying to build in you. Ask what weakness it's exposing, what skill it's demanding, what version of you it's preparing to unleash. Pressure isn't the villain of your story. It's the editor, cutting out the fluff, sharpening the edges, making sure when you finally step into the spotlight, you don't freeze, you don't flinch, you don't crumble. Because the joke was never that pressure tried to break you. The joke is that it thought you weren't already, becoming something it couldn't control. Fear is always the first one in the room. It doesn't wait for an invitation. It doesn't care about your plans or your confident speeches in the mirror. It shows up early, sits in the front row, and stares right at you like it knows something you don't. Before the crowd, before the critics, before the applause or the silence, fear is there, tapping its fingers, smiling like it's seen this story before. Most people think fear is a stop sign, big red letters, end of the road. But fear has never stopped anything on its own. People stop themselves. Fear just watches. Fear is an audience member, not the director. It doesn't control the script unless you hand it the pen. And it's very good at convincing you to do exactly that. It whispers questions instead of answers. What if you fail? What if they laugh? What if you're not as special as you think? It never screams. Screaming would be too obvious. Fear prefers subtlety. The funny thing is, fear only shows up when something matters. You never feel fear about things that are irrelevant. Nobody's afraid of staying average. Nobody's terrified of playing small. Fear appears when you're about to step out of the familiar, when the mask starts slipping, when the version of you that's been hiding realizes it might be seen. Fear is the cost of visibility. No risk, no fear. No fear, no growth. And here's the part people don't like to admit. Fear is paying attention. It studies you. It knows your weak spots, your history, the times you hesitated before. It remembers every excuse you've ever used and offers them back to you like friendly advice. Maybe wait. Maybe prepare more. Maybe tomorrow. Fear is patient. It doesn't rush. It lets time do the damage. But fear also reacts. It gets nervous when you move anyway. When your hands shake, but you don't stop. When your voice cracks and you keep talking. When you take the step without permission. Fear hates momentum. It thrives on pause, on delay, on endless planning. Action makes it uncomfortable. Repetition makes it smaller. Consistency turns it into background noise. You don't defeat fear by feeling brave. Brave is a performance. Fear doesn't care about performances. You defeat fear by making it bored, by showing up again and again until it runs out of material. The first time you try, fear is loud. The second time, it's annoyed. The 10th time, it's quieter. The 100th time, it's just another voice in a crowded head that no longer gets the front seat. Fear also reveals truth. It shows you exactly where your edge is, where comfort ends and growth begins. Every spike of fear is a map marker saying, something important lives here. Avoid it, and you stay the same. Walk straight toward it, and something changes. Not immediately, not magically, but internally. Your tolerance expands, your identity shifts. You stop seeing fear as a warning and start seeing it as confirmation. People wait for fear to disappear before they act. That's the joke. Fear never leaves before the act. It leaves after. It fades once the decision is irreversible. Once you've spoken. Once you've committed. Fear respects commitment. Half steps confuse it. Full steps silence it. And the crowd. The crowd comes later. Applause comes later. Judgment comes later. But fear is always first because it wants the best seat. It wants to see if you'll flinch. If you'll perform for it instead of in spite of it. If you'll let it narrate the story. Fear doesn't mind losing, but it loves when you never show up to challenge it. So when fear takes its seat, don't try to kick it out. Let it watch. Let it witness what happens when you stop negotiating with it. Let it see you move forward without needing its approval. Fear as the first audience is unavoidable. Fear as the final authority is optional. And once you understand that, the stare doesn't feel so powerful. The room doesn't feel so heavy. And the moment that once made your pulse race starts to feel like an invitation you've been ignoring. An open door you're finally walking through. A laugh echoing in your head that no longer sounds like a threat, but like a signal that something real is about to happen. The shadows are quiet. That's why most people are afraid of them. No applause, no validation, no proof that anything you're doing even matters. Just you, your thoughts, and the work nobody asked to see. Building in the shadows feels like telling a joke to an empty room and laughing anyway. It feels pointless if you're addicted to reactions. But shadows aren't empty. They're private, and privacy is where real construction happens. Everyone loves the moment something explodes into the light. Overnight success, sudden fame, instant recognition. What they don't love is the long stretch of invisibility that makes that moment possible. The hours where progress is internal, not visible. Where results don't announce themselves. Where you improve quietly while the world assumes you've stalled. Shadows protect you from premature judgment. They give you room to be bad, to experiment, to fail without a jury. In the shadows, you're not performing. You're practicing. There's a difference. Performance cares about perception. Practice cares about precision. Out there in the light, mistakes are costly. In the dark, mistakes are lessons. You can strip everything down to fundamentals. No filters, no branding. Just repetition and refinement. The kind that isn't sexy enough to post, but powerful enough to change you. Working unseen also messes with people's expectations. They think they know your limits because they haven't seen you grow. They measure you by old data, old versions, old stories. While they're busy categorizing you, you're evolving off the radar. That's the advantage of obscurity. No one prepares for what they don't see coming. Shadows teach patience, not the cute, inspirational kind. The uncomfortable kind where you have to trust process without evidence. Where doubt tries to narrate the silence. Where motivation fades and discipline has to carry the weight. Building without witnesses forces honesty. If you're still showing up when no one's watching, it means the work matters to you, not just the reaction to it. There's also less noise in the dark, fewer opinions, fewer comparisons, fewer people projecting their fears onto your choices. In the shadows, your voice gets clearer. You learn what you actually want, not what looks impressive. You stop chasing trends and start developing substance. Style comes later, substance is forged here. People think hiding means weakness. They confuse silence with fear. But restraint is a strategy. You don't reveal a magic trick while you're still learning it. You don't test fireworks in a crowded room. Some things need incubation. Exposure too early can ruin them. Attention can distort growth. The shadows give you control over timing, and when you build quietly, your confidence roots itself differently. It's not dependent on feedback. It's not shaken by indifference. It's earned through proof. You don't need to explain. You know what you've put in. You know what you've survived. That kind of confidence doesn't shout. It waits. Then, there's the moment you step out, not because you're desperate to be seen, but because the structure is ready. The foundation holds, the skills are sharp, the identity is solid. To the outside world, it looks sudden. To you, it feels overdue. They call it luck because they missed the labor. They call it talent because they didn't see the repetition. They call it confidence because they weren't there for the doubt. The funniest part is how shocked people are. They ask where this came from. They say you've changed. Of course you have. You were busy in the shadows while they were watching the light. You weren't hiding. You were preparing. You weren't silent. You were focused. You weren't absent. You were assembling something that didn't need their permission to exist. Something that grew stronger without applause. Something that learned how to stand on its own before it ever learned how to shine. Denial is a funny thing. You can argue with people. You can debate facts. You can fight opinions. But you can't negotiate with proof. Proof doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't explain itself. It just stands there, unbothered, daring anyone to look away. That's what it means to become undeniable. Not louder, not more liked. Just so consistent, so present, so real that disbelief starts to feel embarrassing. People doubt first. Always. It's their reflex. Doubt is comfortable. Doubt keeps their world predictable. When you say you're going to do something big, they hear disruption. They hear comparison. They hear a mirror they didn't ask for. So they dismiss you early while it's still socially acceptable, while you're still forming, while there's room for the story to end quietly. At first, being doubted feels personal. It stings. You want to explain yourself, defend your vision, convince them you're serious. That urge fades when you realize something important. Explanation is a form of begging. And begging puts your future in someone else's hands. Undeniable people don't convince. They continue. They let time do the talking and results do the arguing. Consistency is the weapon, not intensity. Anyone can be intense for a week. Consistency is boring. It doesn't trend. It doesn't impress. It just shows up again and again and again. And over time, that repetition becomes unsettling. Because now people have to update their opinion. Now the joke they made about you doesn't land the same. Now your name keeps resurfacing in places it wasn't supposed to be. Undeniable isn't about perfection. It's about reliability. When you do what you said you would do, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one's watching, you start building a reputation that speaks before you enter the room. You don't announce your progress. Other people do it for you. Quietly at first, then louder. There's a moment when resistance shifts. You can feel it. The tone changes. Skepticism turns into curiosity. Curiosity turns into attention. Attention turns into respect, not admiration. Respect is heavier. Respect comes from acceptance of reality, not emotional attachment. They don't have to like you. They just have to admit you're here. Becoming undeniable also requires restraint. You can't react to every doubt. You can't chase every opportunity to prove yourself. Overexposure weakens impact. You pick your moments. You let gaps exist. You let silence build tension. When you move, it means something. When you speak, it lands. Scarcity sharpens presence. The process is uncomfortable because you grow faster than your environment. People still treat you like an old version of yourself. They use outdated language, outdated expectations. You have to live in that mismatch without correcting it. That patience is part of the transformation. Reality catches up eventually. It always does. And once you're undeniable, the rules change. Opportunities stop asking for permission. Doors open without introductions. People who ignored you start claiming proximity. People who doubted you start rewriting history. That's the price of proof. It doesn't come with apologies. It comes with revision. The trick is not letting undeniability turn into arrogance. Arrogance needs validation. Undeniable energy doesn't. It stays focused on the work, on the standard, on the next level of proof. Because the moment you stop producing, denial creeps back in. Reality is a moving target. You don't arrive and relax. You arrive and refine. What scares people most about someone undeniable isn't their success. It's their independence from approval. You're no longer waiting to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. You don't ask if you belong. You behave like you do. And that confidence rooted in evidence instead of ego destabilizes rooms. So you build. Quietly. Relentlessly. You let doubt pile up while you pile up receipts. You let them talk while you let the work mature. And one day, without announcement, without confrontation, without a speech, the conversation shifts. Not because you demanded it, because reality forced it. Because denial finally ran out of space to stand, out of excuses to hide behind, out of air to breathe in the presence of something that kept showing up, kept delivering, kept existing long enough and strong enough that arguing with it stopped making sense. Rise unapologetically. Say it out loud. Taste it. Let it rattle your teeth. The world expects hesitation. It expects apologies for ambition, excuses for success, and nervous bows for claiming space. But here's the joke. They've been waiting for you to shrink so they could feel comfortable. They didn't expect you to rise. They certainly didn't expect you to do it without asking for permission. That's the punchline. And you're laughing last. Rising unapologetically isn't about arrogance. It's about refusal. Refusal to be silence trimmed, edited, or reshaped to fit someone else's comfort zone. Every inch of hesitation you shed is an insult to the invisible fences society tries to build around you. You're not polite. You're not negotiable. You're a storm with manners, and storms don't ask for consent before uprooting trees. They just do it beautifully, destructively, inevitably. Most people wait. They polish their sentences. They trim their edges. They apologize for ambitions that feel too big, dreams that feel too dangerous. But while they wait, the world doesn't pause. The spotlight doesn't come to you. Opportunity doesn't knock politely. Rising unapologetically is refusing the wait. It's moving forward with the crooked smile of someone who knows that the only way to get noticed is to step loudly into your own space. Judgment. They all show up. And yes, it's uncomfortable. But discomfort is part of the method, part of the punchline. Every eye that narrows at your audacity, every voice that tries to tether you back to acceptable, every whisper that tells you to be smaller, is fuel. It sharpens your intent. It stretches the elasticity of your courage until hesitancy snaps and leaves only action. When you rise unapologetically, you teach chaos how to behave. You train doubt to shrink. You train disbelief to hesitate. Because people aren't used to seeing someone who doesn't apologize for their presence. They're used to echoes, shadows, polite imitation. But you are neither. You are original. You are loud without volume. You are seen even when you don't perform. You are relentless in a world that worships predictability. There's power in the refusal to excuse yourself. Power in the refusal to explain. Power in occupying space with intent and clarity, letting the ripple effect do the talking. You can't be polite to mediocrity and still become extraordinary. You can't check in with approval and still lead revolutions. Every second spent justifying yourself is a second stolen from the momentum of your rise. And the beauty of it, the world notices anyway. They can't help it. Eyes widen, conversations pause. Opinions scramble to catch up. You don't need to explain the work. You don't need to sugarcoat ambition. Your presence, your commitment, your refusal to apologize, these become louder than any voice that tried to question you. You don't demand recognition. You demand reality to acknowledge you, and eventually it does. Rising unapologetically also means embracing the chaos that comes with visibility. People will love it, hate it, mimic it, fear it. But none of that matters. You're not here for their comfort. You're here for your evolution. Every stumble, every challenge, every misstep, it's still forward movement. Still proof that you are moving. Still evidence that hesitation no longer gets a vote. It's not a moment. It's a lifestyle. A continuous declaration that you exist on your own terms. You're not negotiating your identity with opinions, with standards, with outdated expectations. You are fully formed, fully present, and fully unbothered by those who wish you were smaller. They can talk, but the stage is yours. The spotlight is yours. The rise is yours. And the joke isn't on you. It's on anyone who thought you would wait politely for permission. Who thought you would shrink to make them comfortable. Who thought that the world would dictate the size of your ambition, the breadth of your identity, the audacity of your ascent.